Hey guys, Lows98 here, welcome back to another video, and today I am joined by Jammer, a fellow Vita YouTuber, and we're going to be discussing Borderlands 2 on the Vita, whether it's worth buying, looking at the pros and cons, and as I said, whether it's worth buying, whether it's good on the Vita, and our thoughts and opinions. So guys, I've been Lows98, and thanks for watching. I'm a first time Borderlands player. I've never played it, I've never owned it on any of the other consoles, and I'm really pleased with Borderlands so far. I'm not used to the most smoothest of frame rates because obviously there's a few Vita games that the frame rates weren't very good, like COD, and I found it fine. People were moaning about the controls and the frame rate, and I've found it really good so far, and it hasn't really taken any getting used to, in my opinion. But I think a lot of the negativity towards Borderlands comes from console players who are used to a really, really smooth version. They expect the Vita version to be, you know, up to scratch with the consoles, and it just isn't.
Well, I actually made a review for it, and that's exactly what I said. I said Borderlands 2 is made on the Vita is made for people who have not played it yet. It's perfect for them because they don't know what to expect to begin with, and so it just feels like a normal game to them. But if you play it on the console, you still have the Borderlands feel, but it's just not the same. They both run at 30 frames per second, but it's just a little bit more smoother on the console. And that's why my review, I was like, if you are a new player, you're not like a hardcore gamer or anything, you're not looking for a complete replica of it, it's perfect.
Well, yeah, what you said is, I haven't played the console version, so it's new to me, and as you said, it feels like a normal game. I have no problems with it, whereas if I would have played the console versions, then I would have played the Vita version and thought, whoa, this is a bit different. Whereas to me, I'm basing my whole Borderlands experience on the Vita version. To be honest, I think if you're a first-time Borderlands player, you've never experienced Borderlands, then you should definitely pick up the Vita version because it is still Borderlands. The game is still there. The frame rate's not too bad. It gets a little bit hectic sometimes. When the game gets hectic, the frame rate drops a little bit, but for the most part, it's fairly smooth, and it is the full Borderlands, and it really is still really fun, especially in co-op mode as well. It hasn't been very laggy either. I see a lot of people moaning about the lag, but from my experience, it's not lag, it's just the frame rate doesn't hold up as well as it should sometimes.
Yeah, it gets a little twitchy, and I think from the beginning of the game, it's not too bad. As you go farther and farther, it starts to get a little bit iffy, but you're still able to, play and everything. It's just, and like for me, I don't know, I really did expect something like more of it, but honestly, I'm having so much fun playing it, even though it has those little problems, because it's the same game. And it just is fun. Yeah,
exactly. It is the same game. It is still Borderlands, and that's kind of why I'm edging towards recommending the game to people, because it is still really fun. I see quite a few people who do own the console versions are enjoying the Vita version as well. I think people overestimate what the Vita can do, and they think they expect the Vita to be able to run these massive games, and it can't, because if you build a game from the scratch for the Vita, like Killzone Mercenary, they built that from scratch to work with the Vita's hardware.
Yeah.
The reason it's so smooth is because all the background tasks are set to the specific hardware and the processing power of the Vita, whereas when you get a big game like Borderlands, it's designed with more processing power in mind and different hardware, so you've got to optimize it. And I still, as I keep saying, I still think it's the core Borderlands, and it is still really fun. Now, what do you think about the graphics compared to the console
graphics,
versions?
Honestly, they are like, I don't know, they're really good. That's what I don't know what I'm trying to say, but they are really good. Like the fact that they fit the whole game and they didn't downscale it that much, they are still really good graphics. I would say it's probably top 5 best looking game on the Vita.
Yeah, because I watched a few videos of Borderlands 2 on the PS3, the Xbox, and it does look amazing. But when I got on the Vita, from what I was hearing, I expected it to have bad graphics, to run really, really badly. And when I got in it, I think the graphics are actually really good. The textures aren't going to be the best, but for the most part, it looks good on the Vita, and especially on the original OLED Vita, it really does look spectacular.
Yeah, I think the lighting, they made it a little bit less, what's the word? They just downscale the lighting a little bit, and you can just see it's like a whole one setting of lighting throughout the whole game on the Vita, which isn't a big deal. And it's still, other than that, it seems like
doesn't
the
affect the game too much. I mean, that's something that's missing in a lot of Vita games. especially games like MotoGP. You look at the console versions, they've got a lot of shadows, a lot of lighting effects, and they're missing on the Vita, and it can look bland, but the lighting effects on Borderlands 2, the Vita version, it does still look pretty good, and it doesn't look bland, it still looks quite colourful, and it does look pretty striking on the Vita, despite the downgrade.
Yeah, I would just say just you really don't see a difference until you've looked at the console version. Then you just see the lighting and areas. It's like all one lighting. They don't really change it, which is not a big deal. I'd rather have them change the lighting than make the graphics worse.
So what do you think about the controls? Because I hear a lot of people complaining about the controls. Now, obviously, I'm a Vita player. All I've ever played is a Vita, so I'm used to the Vita. When I played Borderlands 2, it took me 5 seconds to get around the controls. I have no issue whatsoever. Is there an issue for you? If so, what do you think the issue is? What do you think the issue is with other people?
I'd have to say, I'm also a Vita person. Like, I have a PS4, PS3. I've had an Xbox 360. But I think, honestly, Vita's only been out for 2 years, and I've put more hours on it than I have on all my consoles put together. And like you said, it wasn't very much of a problem for me. But I can really see where it would be. Just time. As you play it, you'll get used to it. It's like a certain way you have to hold your Vita. And at first, I started cramping up when I started playing Borderlands 2. And then I just got used to it, and I was perfectly fine with it.
Because I think that it's pretty handy, the default controls. I like having the left half of the back touchpad for run. That's pretty handy because, unlike a lot of people, I have my Vitas over the back touchpad as I play. It's how I hold the Vita. So I kind of automatically run, and then it's quite easy to do my melee attack as well.
I think melee was that's a little iffy for me, because I will be running and I'll tap it by accident.
I often find that, because as I said, I have my fingers on the back touchpad. When I'm running, I do a lot. It happens a lot. I'll just sort of punch or melee, and then I'll stop. And that area is not too great with the controls. But overall, I think the controls are pretty good. I can control them pretty well. Gameplay's mainly the same. Well, it is exactly the same, isn't it?
To the PS3, you mean?
To the PS3, the Xbox, whatever you want to compare it to.
Yeah, pretty similar. I remember we got the first GDC gameplay of it. People were saying, oh, there wasn't that many monsters versus the console version. But as I kept going, it really seemed like there's really nothing changed. Like, there's the same amount of monsters. Yeah. And whatnot, And
also, they did improve it from the GDC build. The frame rate was a lot worse. The way the monsters die is a lot better, and they've improved it as well.
Alright, I was just going to say that at first I had one crash early in the game. And as I kept going, I crashed 3 more times. But I think after the patch, I think it's good now.
How long did it take before the patch came out? Because obviously in the UK, we got it on the 30th. So when I got the game, the patch was there waiting for me. So I haven't had any experience before the patch. Was it a lot worse, or?
Honestly, I thought it was really bad. I would be walking and it would be really twitchy just as I'm stepping. And then I got the patch and it was really smooth even when I was walking. And I thought it was a big difference.
From my experience with the game, mine's been pretty good so far. Since I've got it, it's frozen once and it's crashed once. And to be honest, I've been playing it for hours and I haven't really run into any problems yet. So I'm quite lucky, because I see a lot of people with crashing problems. They crash quite a bit, but so far I've been alright. I think the game's stable and the game's really fun. So, the frame rate's okay. I think for the most part it holds up well. It is pretty smooth. It gets a little bit, when the game gets a little bit hectic or busy, it can drop and it can be a little bit annoying. For the most part, it's pretty smooth. The gameplay is all still there. It's still Borderlands. You're still going to have a lot of fun. The controls, for a first-time player, they're pretty good. For someone who's used to the Vita, they are pretty handy. But there may be a few issues for people who have been used to dual trigger buttons, or whatever you like to call them, on the consoles. Moving down to the touchpad and only single trigger buttons on the Vita may be hard for some people. But I think, for the most part, as I said before, it's still Borderlands. The core game is still there. I think if you're a first-time player, it's definitely worth picking up, because it is a really fun game.
Yeah.
But as we've said, I think if you've experienced the game on the consoles, then you're going to have to expect a little downgrade. It's not going to be as good as the console counterparts. But I mean, would you say to people to buy? Would you tell them to buy Borderlands on the Vita?
I would say, thumbs up. You should buy it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it is, as I said, it is really fun on Vita, despite what people say. So far, I've had it a few days, and I'm really enjoying it. I've run into only a handful of issues, and it really is fun. So that is a final verdict. You should definitely buy Borderlands on the Vita, but if you're still unsure, do a bit of research and
just look at all the reviews from like certain sites, different sites, see what they're giving them, and just go off those.
Just a little tip: don't always listen to one website. Always look at reviews from different websites. Ask around for opinions, because everybody's got their own opinions. Everybody's used to like different consoles and different controls, but for the most part, Borderlands 2 on the Vita is a great game and definitely worth it. So guys, I've been Loses98. Thanks to Jammer for joining me in this video. He is a great Vita YouTuber. I do recommend you check his channel. Link in the description below. So guys, I've been Loses98. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
See ya.